Hey everyone, and welcome to my November Recent Reads Wrap-Up. I read a lot of really fun things in November, so let's talk about them. First one I need to mention is Skullduggery Pleasant, A Small Matter of Impending Catastrophe by Derek Landy, and this is another one that started out as a podcast that was released weekly in September and October, which was then also published as a physical book, and once again I absolutely adored this one. I've got no idea what that noise is, if you can hear that. I apologise right now. I think next door may be drilling or something, so apologies if you can hear anything. But anyway, I really enjoyed this one. I love the murder mystery of it again and unravelling what was going on. I also love the addition of dark energy as well, which was a really interesting concept in this. And actually what I'll do as well is leave a link up above to my reading vlog for this so you can see my full thoughts on it. But essentially, I absolutely adored it like I always do with Skullduggery, and I gave it 5 stars. I also read The Glass Coffin by Gabby Hutchinson Crouch, which is the final one in the Darkwood series, which is kind of like a satirical take on our world told through fairy tale characters. I can't really give you any more details than that just because of it being spoilers, but I absolutely loved this one. It was the final one in the trilogy and I loved how it wrapped everything up. I thought it was done absolutely fantastically. The satire once again was absolutely on point while reading this one. I also loved how loudly queer it was. And I also love the message in here as well about standing up for marginalised communities and things like this. I thought it was all done fantastically well, and my only complaint is that it wasn't longer because I just did not want to leave this world. Next up was Somadina by Akwaeke Emezi, and this one is following 2 twins. One is Somadina and the other one is Jayeki. I apologise right now if I have mispronounced his name. And they live in a world where essentially everyone has powers and everyone gains powers at around puberty, and these 2 twins have not had their powers yet. They're very late to it, and everyone keeps on sort of looking at them weirdly because they don't have these powers and they really stand out compared to everybody else. And what happens when one day they do get their powers, and Jayeki's is seen as a very helpful power and a very good power, whereas Somadina's is seen as destructive and dangerous. And I really love this storyline. I really love the connection between the twins in here as well. I also really like the world building in here and the magic system. I thought it was done fantastically well. And I just think, once again, Akwaeke Emezi absolutely knocked it out of the park. I really enjoyed this one. And then the final book I have before I go into the comics was The Unfinished by Cheryl Isaacs. And this one is following a young girl who one day strays off the path and finds this weird swamp thing in the middle of the forest. And then all of a sudden, people start going missing in her town. And she's got to try and figure out what's going on, why this is happening, and try to stop it before her friends and family are disappeared and taken as well. And I really like this one. I loved how it wove indigenous culture throughout here. I also really loved the storyline of it. I thought this was very creepy, which was fantastic to be reading in November. And I also really thought the audiobook was done very well as well. And then as for the comics I read, I got about 7 volumes, I think it is, into Ed Brubaker's Captain America. I'm currently holding up The Death of Captain America because I got this far and a little bit further, and it's basically the only ones that I've read so far that I own physically, so I'm just going to hold this up. And if you don't know what this run is all about, it is essentially the run that inspired the Captain America The Winter Soldier movie, and it is so well done. So this covers essentially Cap going about his daily life, and then people start being murdered, the Red Skull comes back, all of this kind of thing, and then it is revealed that it's actually the Winter Soldier doing it, and the Winter Soldier is Bucky Barnes, and it all goes from there. This goes through all the way through Civil War, the death of Captain America, Bucky taking over as Captain America, and so many other things. And the 7 volumes I read it this month were absolutely incredible. Like, I knew I was in for a good time with this because I'd already read this one actually and a few other bits in here, but it was so well done and so well crafted. The plot twists in here were fantastic. The build up to it was so good. The artwork as well. Can I show you anything without giving away too many spoilers or anything else that could be potentially maybe triggering? There we go. This is what the artwork looks like. So the artwork was fantastic as well, and it was just incredible. There's a reason why this is considered one of the greatest Captain America runs of all time, and they are not kidding. It is so good. Obviously, I'm only 7 volumes in at the moment. I'm still continuing it on throughout December, but the 7 I read were incredible, and I loved every single second of reading these. I also read Keanu Reeves and Matt Kint's Berserker Volume 1, and my god do I have a thing with long-haired assassins who are far older than they look, because I love this one. This one is following a guy who is essentially centuries old at this point. He cannot remember much of his life whatsoever, and now he is working for the US government essentially as an assassin type character in exchange for them finding out what he is, who he is, and if he can ever die. And I love this one. I cannot show you a single panel from this because it is very, very violent, very, very bloody, and very, very gory, but I had the greatest time reading this one. I am definitely continuing on with this series because it was so much fun, and I am also desperate for this to be made into a movie because it was incredible. And then the final thing I read was a complete 180 to absolutely everything else I read in the month, and that is Kickflip by L.D. Lipinski and Logan Hanning, and this is following Elliot. Elliot, while they're at school, is seen as a girl. They are using she, her pronouns and this kind of thing, but then they also go to a skate park and they are considered a boy there. Everybody else there assumes that they are a boy and starts using he, him pronouns, and both of these places, Elliot does not feel quite right there. They're still trying to figure out their identity, trying to figure out what pronouns feel right and this kind of thing, and they slowly come to the realization throughout this book that they are non-binary, and I adored this one so much. I thought it was done fantastically well. The artwork inside of here really reminded me of Heartstopper in a lot of ways, which I really enjoyed. I loved how sensitively this was done. I also really related to Elliot in a lot of ways because I spent my childhood being asked if I was a boy because I was very, very traditionally tomboyish. I never wore skirts or anything else. I was always in trousers. I was always interested in more traditionally, stereotypically boy things, so I was constantly asked if I was actually a boy. I was also really interested in the skater style as a kid as well. I never actually skateboarded. I'm far too dyspraxic to even try that, but I was always interested in skateboarding and things like this, so I really related to Elliot as a character even without being non-binary myself, and I just absolutely loved this one. I thought it was beautifully done, beautifully written, beautifully drawn. It was a 5-star read and one of the easiest 5 stars I've given this year. I absolutely adored it. And that is my favourite things I read throughout the month of November. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you read in November and absolutely loved. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a skateboard emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!